from Bușteni, and Let's COSI podcast came back with our new special episode. I'm Mariam, and I will be today's host for this podcast. Now we are in our Erasmus Plus training course named Plural Perspective 3.0. And with our guest, we talk about tolerance. Our guests will be the participants of our project, Jamil, Ibrahim, and Maria. So please, dear guests, introduce yourself. What is your current occupation, and which organization are you representing in this project?
Hello, thank you for inviting for this podcast. Myself, Ibrahim. I come from Spain. I'm originally from India, but I live in Spain for the last 4 years. And I'm part of an organization which works in rural areas in a place called Gandia near Valencia in Spain. That's about me. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jamil. I'm part of an organization which works in media literacy and critical thinking. It's based in the United Kingdom, although I myself am based in Spain. I conduct research on media biases, and we design training courses on media literacy and critical thinking.
Hello, my name is Maria Kanelopoulou. I'm coming from Greece. I'm representing Alter Ego Basement NGO. It's based in Thessaloniki. I'm currently an instructor in Hellenic aerospace industry. I'm working with youth from 18 till 30 years old. And yes, as an instructor. Thank you.
Thank you. Now my first question will be, since we are on the Erasmus Plus training course, which is an informal education, I would like to ask you, what do you think, what role can informal education, non-formal education can play in building a more inclusive and tolerant generation, since we are all trying to build a better society?
So, non-formal education helps us to achieve the role of social inclusion by means of allowing the participants to travel across countries, so they get the exposure to new cultures, understanding new cultures, and a form of education, knowing new areas of interest in terms of new educational fields, as well as working skills with other participants. Also, they will get the group teamwork activities, which will help them to include and be critical. I mean, critical thinking helps in a way to promote their knowledge and be more socially inclusive.
Yes, I think that's very good, Ibra. Some of the points that you raised were very important. I think many of these trainings also provide participants with specific tools that they can use. And people are generally quite tolerant anyway, but at the same time, they don't necessarily have the tools that some of these trainings provide. And these are very useful in not just promoting tolerance, but also preventing intolerance in society.
Non-formal education is very important because without a curriculum, and mostly based in activities with youth, we can influence them and motivate them to be more tolerant. And also with mixed groups of people with various backgrounds, they can get the message that they should be more tolerant and inclusive in their society, in their lives in general, in the future.
What do you think about the digital platform, since in our project we are trying to start a campaign, create a more tolerant society, inclusive society? What do you think, what role can digital platforms can to share information and voice?
Well, digital platform is being used rampantly these days because it's quite easy to use. You don't really go to some designated place to listen to any talks or seminars. You can, wherever you are, you can still listen to the for example, this podcast. The people can listen while they are traveling, while they are doing some work. So that's how the power of digital tools are. And through the digital tools, you can make many visionary activities. For example, you can promote active listening, as well as creating more opportunities for the people, like by sharing your experiences. And you can be a role model and inspirational for many people based on your actions that you have done to your community. Being it can be anything from youth work to a community building things. So yeah, it's really powerful. And one important point is through visual tools um, you can without any fear, you can still openly, because you're not talking to the public. Maybe many people may be having the stage fear, or fear to talk to people in front of the people, many people. So the visual tools will help you to get rid of those kind of phobias, and you can still express yourself more comfortably. So yeah.
Thank you. To uncover a real-world connection between the media and harmful narratives, Jamil, you spent a lot of time researching misinformation and media biases. I would like to ask you, how have you seen this contribution to intolerance and discrimination in today's digital world, digital landscape?
By digital landscape, I'm assuming that you're referring to social media platforms
Yes.
and video content creation. There's a link between it. This is essentially a question of cause and effect, and it's very difficult to establish concrete links between almost anything. And if you look at other areas in medicine, if a group of scientists develop a specific drug to treat a specific illness, it takes years of research to actually determine cause and effect, even though this particular drug was created to treat a particular illness. It takes years. You have to test it, you have to retest it, you have a placebo test to see if this drug is really helpful. It's the same way with establishing any kind of cause and effect. It takes time, and I could very easily say, yes, there's a direct link. I mean, there may be. And there often is a direct link between hate speech and violence, but it's very difficult to pinpoint, and it's very difficult to determine that this caused that. Hate speech is not good, but it's not always easy to link them to specific acts of violence or specific crimes.
So we also leverage the power of visual tools by making videos. So because it's very easy to concise and precisely make an attempt of delivering the message to reach out to the youths or whoever the stakeholders are. So it's obviously a very nice way of expressing the opinions to the mass media.
Thank you. And next question also for Ibrahim. To share the best practice, you've worked with youth from disadvantaged rural backgrounds and marginalized communities. What have been the most powerful methods or maybe activities that you used to promote tolerance and inclusion among them, and how generally looks like working with them? What is the main challenges?
Yeah, very interesting question. We work with people from different type of disadvantaged background. For example, from marginalized socioeconomic, vulnerable groups, ethnic minorities, migrants, refugees, LGBTQ plus sometimes, and diversified group. Yeah, so there are quite of challenges in each and every category that I mentioned. For example, refugees, for them the socioeconomic comes into picture very quickly because of lack of the resources for their education, for their travel, even for the food. So each and every, as I said, each and every mentioned group have their own problem. For example, LGBTQ is a representation of their identity. So we work on there is no standard or common solution for each and everything, so we adapt according to the needs of the people. Since we are an NGO working mostly on non-formal education based activities, mostly we do Erasmus plus projects. So obviously non-formal education is the best way to utilize to include the young people into the society. as well as the adult people. So yeah, non-formal education based projects related to mobility. Mobility is the main activity that we do. We try to provide them the opportunities to travel to different countries, different regions, to meet people, to engage with other people. They get the opportunity to travel. Even many people have their first time traveling to other countries. They experienced meeting new cultures. As said, non-formal education, and we also have a part of experiential learning methodologies. We, in our activities, we use the Kolb cycle, if you had heard about it. So we use the way of how the way it is expressed in doing the experiential learning. We adopt that methodologies in our activities, whatever we do. So yeah, as I said, the solution is nothing but you have to make an awareness of the people, like to represent their opinions, to listen. Active listening is the main thing. Make them, we will listen to them. We will make them that we are there for them, to support for their empowerment, and we try our best to do to empower themselves by means of all these methodologies that I described: non-formal education, active learning, experiential learning, informal education, etc.
Maria, in your experience, what are the biggest obstacles youth with disabilities face in being fully included in the community, in our life, and how can you and other youth workers as well better advocate for their rights from your experience?
It depends on the area. Of course, in rural areas, they don't have an direct access. So that is the main point too. They also have difficulties in moving around, in infrastructures, accessing other kind of activities like sports and games that can include them. So it is there have to be a lot of steps. NGOs mostly help by providing the means, the buildings, all the equipment that they need most of the time. So that's what we are trying to do. And most of the times it works, but we need more steps. We need more cooperation with the municipalities, with the other sectors in the area to do so.
How is the situation in your country? If you can tell us more details about
Yes. As I said, there's difficulty, especially because most of the time, people with disabilities, for example, hard hearing, they cannot have podcasts, they cannot have access to videos with sign language, or people with kinetic problems, they do not have access to buildings, even hospitals sometimes, especially in rural areas, in the islands. There are not so many ways of moving around for them. We have major difficulties in this. Many times people, they do not aware of special trails for in the pavements for blind people, so they step on them, or they put chairs on these special trails. So this makes their life difficult. And youths, of course, they are energetic, they want to move around, they want to do things, they want to do stuff. So that's the major problems that they face.
Jamil, you mentioned training young people to develop critical thinking. To go deep more into the critical thinking concept generally, which is really important in today's world. And from your experience, what are the most effective strategies, if you have ones, for helping them recognize and challenge some diversity or intolerant content online, and generally to talk about the importance of critical thinking?
Critical thinking is, you can define it in many ways. I mean, I would say it's narrowing the gap between reality and your perception of that reality. Narrowing the gap as much as possible. We cannot actually even close the gap, because there's always things that we don't know, and it takes time. The key essentially to critical thinking is that it takes time because it's not something that we humans do naturally. So sometimes you actually have to think in a way which is contrary to your natural instincts, and that requires a little bit of effort and focus. So it's a lifelong process. It's not something that you finish at any point and say, yes, I now think critically. Nobody ever does think critically all the time because it's very frequently, as I mentioned, going against our natural way of thinking. So it's essentially the secret to doing it well is to continue learning. It's a bit like learning a foreign language as an adult. As in, I always like to compare it to that because you're studying something and you might make some mistakes because you're actually thinking in another language while you're trying to speak a new language. And it's a lifelong process. There's always new things to learn. You can learn new vocabulary, new expressions. And it's the same way with critical thinking. There's always something new to learn. And you always have to be conscious that your first impressions might not be the most accurate impression of reality.
So the main strategies that can youth people use is to continue doing so.
Absolutely.
Practice is from your practice also, Ibrahim and Maria, if you would like to add something about the critical importance of critical thinking during your projects, how you help people to practice this.
Critical thinking in terms of we have like it depends on the activities that we are trying to focus on them, and also depends on the target groups. If they are teenagers, we would like to give them more of fun activities that will help them to, like, kind of a puzzles and stuff, and games that will help them, like brain teasers, that will help them to think out of the box. For people who are more like adult and like between 21 to 25, we have a different set of activities that will that will help them channel their ideas towards more of entrepreneurship, doing being an entrepreneur, how we can financially independent, successful, those kind of activities, and how he can contribute to the society, how can he be an inspirational person, inspire. So those kind of activities we usually do. Basically, we try to help the adult to build communities around them, to build peer network, to work collaboratively, to learn from each other, to work engaged, actively promoting active citizenship is one of the ideal of European Union. So these kind of topics we highlight, and we try to focus on them, and try to be more, help them to be more thinking critically.
Thank you.
Also, for my part, some activities that they can cultivate their knowledges, also to be more critical in a way that they can understand the difference between something that they want them to think about or something that they can have an opinion on themselves. So different kind of activities, role plays, examples that they can show them a reality and something else that sometimes the media trying to show. And so it's very important to, especially young generation and youths, to have this critical thinking and to be able to decide, make decisions, be the decision makers in their life.
You have practiced programs and different strategies for so long. Have you ever noticed any regional differences with the people that you are work with? They are from the different part of the world. In terms of misinformation or intolerance spreads, and how do you think, what if there is any unique approach across the different cultures? For example, Jamil, if you ever noticed any differences, regional differences about the misinformation and intolerance, if some countries are more spread the misinformation.
There are different kinds of biases that exist.
Yes.
I mean, you can categorize them and you can have different categories of biases. These are, I would say, quite general and they can apply to practically any society. But then there are also specific content which are more specific to a country or a part of the world, because people there can relate to this content more easily and they may be more vulnerable to that kind of misinformation. And we will always be vulnerable to misinformation. That is, especially if it's something information that we agree with. And we tend to go with things that we agree with. So depending on the part of the world that you're focusing on, you can adapt the content. And different countries, yes, of course, they have different things that people there find interesting or people there agree with. And they will be more vulnerable to that kind of information than perhaps something which is completely unrelatable to them.
Well, I cannot talk about the misinformation, but I would say like this Erasmus Plus platform gives a big opportunity to travel and read other cultures, learn from the people, exchange ideas. So this will help to break all the stereotypes that are built. Those stereotypes are mostly from through hearsay, the people saying randomly without even knowing any facts about it. They just said what they hear, and it keeps passed on. One such example, if I can mention you, like I was told like French are more racist, but it's not. I went to a French project a couple of times and the people were super nice, super friendly. So it's all like the stereotypes are being built up not based on the facts. It's based on some imagination, maybe some fault media expressions and stuff like that. So I would say this opportunity of traveling to different cultural background regions, so you will get to know many things and you can represent yourself as well as you can learn from the others who are the icons of the cultural diversity. So yeah, so I really I'm really grateful to be part of this Erasmus Plus platform as one of the participants as well as one of the contributors. So I can really see the potential of this platform, how well it can integrate and make a good effort in social inclusion.
Maria, you mentioned the serious long-term effects of exclusion of youth, mentally, socially, and sometimes even financially. How can awareness campaigns generally help shift this public attitude toward the disabled people and make inclusion and shared social responsibility? How can we raise awareness about the shared social responsibilities?
It's very important for the people to know. So information is the key most of the times, and youth should know. So from these campaigns, they are crucial. They have a crucial role to inform people, to inform youths about the disabilities, about different kinds of disabilities, mental, etc., kinetics. And so it's important for the tolerance. If you get to know something, you are aware, you identify, and so it also helps for inclusion, to include people in your environment, in your activities. And these campaigns, I think, it's the most important thing in providing information and sharing all that you have to do with disabilities, inclusion, and yes, and tolerance in youths.
Since our project main goal is to make race awareness campaigns, maybe you would like to tell us more about your group project that you are working on, and how you see to go more deep, the digital platforms you are planning to do visual storytelling content, social media content, and what's going on in your groups. How do you see this purpose?
We are trying to give a message through this campaign. It will be a short one, a short message in order to understand that there are not differences, major differences in our understandings and in our everyday lives, but there are more connection than separation. So the distinction should not be there. And in that way, the discrimination will be eliminated.
We're working on misinformation and how that can lead to hate speech. So for us, what we're trying to do is essentially to create short videos, very, very short, but things that people can share and things that messages, very short messages, very short videos, but things that can have an impact on whoever's watching them. Keep it short, keep it simple.
This project, at the initial days, we were given adequate knowledge on what is discrimination, what is hate speech, how to overcome it. And yeah, now in the last, since yesterday, we are working on the action part of the actual project. So it's really wonderful to work on the idea that we took up this plan of immigrant and intolerance with immigrants. So it's very quite interesting. We are brainstorming, we are a group of 4 people, and we are brainstorming the questions, and it gives us a lot of clarity on our perception on immigrant as well as being an immigrant and how we treat the immigrants. So it's really, really interesting, and we are looking forward to make a very nice video with a lot of information on the reality and the facts, which is really good, and this idea is really great. And thanks a lot for COSI for providing such a wonderful idea and platform for it.
Thank you so much. And last question for all of you. You as experienced youth workers, I would like to ask you what tips, advices you would offer other youth workers or maybe volunteers who just start working in the youth sector, or maybe educators, teachers who are trying to support young people, both who are discriminated and also sometimes people who express intolerance and have the discriminative speech. What would be your main advice for?
My advice would be try to remember how it was when you were young and what you wanted to learn, what you wanted to eager, what was your passion, what was your demonstration, what you wanted to change in your life and in the world. So, and try to be more tolerant, and empathy is the key in all time. Yes.
I'm going to use a cliche here, but it's essentially be the change you want to see.
Yeah, being a youth worker is not a profession. It's a passion that you are doing something you want to do in the society. You want to make a change by changing yourself also as well. So my advice is to be, first of all, you should be empathetical. You should have the empathy. You should be having the patience to listen and to learn and update yourself regularly. Be inspired and inspire others as well. Try to empower as much as possible for the future generation. Teach the reality, teach the facts. Be the change, as Jamil mentioned.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time and for the podcast. I'm sure that it will be really interesting for our listeners. And of course, thank you, my dear COSI team behind the microphone who make sure that our podcast is good. Thank you so much. Good luck with your projects.